My name is Joy Lawson, and welcome to The Opening Scene, the show covering all things TV, film, and theater in the DMV area. In this episode, executive producer Loretta E Wilson joins us in studio to discuss her film for what it's worth. Afterwards, we visit Woolly Mammoth Theatre Company in Northwest Washington, D.C., and hear from the artistic and managing director to discuss their upcoming season. And finally, we sit down with Connie St John, current president of Women in Film and Video in Washington, D.C., and learn why she feels this organization is different from other filmmaking groups. Loretta E Wilson has a unique pulse on the DMV TV and film landscape. From working with PBS, BET, and DC's film office, she has witnessed every angle from concept to distribution. So when she decided to produce her first film, For What It's Worth, under her new banner, A Bold Move Media, we had to stop and learn more. Listen as she talks about the development of this project filming in Maryland and why it's an important conversation.
Awesome. Naomi, you really got to get a handle on your anger issues.
Something is not in my life, Trey. But I'm about to figure it out. Maybe you need to check yourself.
The four of you have always been there for each other, even when you had your differences.
Sometimes God allows minor setbacks for major comebacks. Trust me, it's all gonna work out.
Everyone expects me to show up for them. But who the hell is going to show up for me?
We're family, and family sticks together.
For What It's Worth was the first film that I was able to lead up here in the DC and Maryland area.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
I have a question about For What It's Worth, especially being the first one under your banner of A Bold Move Media, correct? Or Productions?
Yes, A Bold Move Media.
A Bold Move Media. What made you say, this is the story I want to start with here? What about the idea was like, you know what, I want to do this? And to your point, you could be in Chicago with this story. You could be in New York with this story, Atlanta, even from where the director is from with the story. But you said here. Tell me about like why this story and then why this story here.
That is a good question. So I've always been committed to having more productions here, right? And we did consider Atlanta. Our writer, LaJill Hunt, right, what is from Atlanta. Courtney Arlette, director, Atlanta. At the time, our talent, you'll see the Worth siblings, Patrice Covington, Leslie Black, Kevin Savage, and Jared Wolford. They were all in Atlanta. It just made sense, right?
Amazing sales pitch.
You know, everyone's like, come on, I could just go home. But one of the things, and you know, as a producer, it does come down to economics sometimes, right? You know, when I looked at the DC rebate, it was just more attractive than what was going on as far as the Atlanta incentives, right? Believe it or not, you have to check it out.
Need to speak on that one a little bit.
You have
now.
to check it out. Go right DC, Film Office, OCTFME, Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. All right, I have to give them a shout out. So it made economic sense,
right?
You know.
So why this story? I understand why here, but then also why this story then?
Good question. So the story really is rooted in mental health awareness, right? You see the lead, Naomi, Dr. Naomi Samuels. She has it all, right? She's on the top of her career. She's about to get married, and then everything comes crumbling down, right? She sees her fiance's cheating on her. She loses her fellowship. Then she gets a call that her foster care sibling, Malik, in DC, is hospitalized, right? So she hasn't been home to visit DC in a while. She's reconnected with her other foster care siblings. Fallon, I always want to call Leslie Black Fallon Worth. It's just now I've seen the movie so many times, they have become these characters, right? But Fallon, and then Gerard, right, played by Kevin Savage, and Malik, played by Jared Wolford. And of course, our lead was Patrice Covington. And you see the dynamics with them, right? So the foster care sibling, just story was unique, right? I love that LaJill, put that in. It wasn't for friends. It wasn't just for sisters and brothers. The fact that they grew up in foster care, and you see them in their own right, that they were successful, right? These are the stories that you just don't see necessarily. So we wanted foster care to come out of more of an urban city. So DC was a great backdrop for that. We wanted to see them, just the family drama come into play. And then, like I said, the mental health awareness piece. We wanted something that was relatable, right? So, and these were conditions that I call them everyday mental health conditions, right? So we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with anger management, emotional eating. A lot of us, we don't talk about mental health. We don't know a lot of what mental health means. I want people to go to a licensed, mental health therapist, like they go to their barber or their hairstylist, and we are talking about it like it's an everyday thing, right? This is what we do. You go to your doctor for your checkups, for your physical checkups. Why not go for a mind checkup, right? So I want at least us to start a conversation, open a dialogue about mental health, and for us to check on one another. Like I said, you see the character Naomi, she had not checked in on her foster care siblings until she was forced to, right? So I want us to check on each other every now and then, right? We did screenings in Atlanta, we did one in DC, at the MLK Library, and there we were really able to drive home the wellness piece and taking care of yourself. Like I said, for what it's worth, is a very it's an entertaining movie. You see the drama, you can get wrapped up into the love relationships, but at the end we really wanted to just drive home the mental health piece, right, and not have that piece overlooked. So with a wellness technique in DC, we did a sound bath, right, before our screening, which was very different. A lot of people were not ready for a sound bath. They were like, what is this, right? But when you hear the vibration of the bowls beforehand, it really got a lot of people just calmed them down, got them ready to take in what they were about to see. So we, played the movie, and afterwards did a panel discussion with some of the production team. The whole reason I started a Bold Move Media was because I've gone through, hundreds of pitches, okay? Had in person, read pitches, but again, Kim, these people don't look like me. They don't act like me. They don't act like my friends. They don't act like my family. I really want characters that look like me. You'll see, even for what it's worth, the body shapes, right? It's deliberate, okay? The vast, I could say, the different looks of each of the characters, it's deliberate, right? Because we wanted to, represent, even in the African American community, we look different, right? So I love Shonda Rhimes, right? She really opened the door for, especially women, Black women, to look different in media. I wanted more of that, right? So that's really the whole drive behind Bold Move Media. I want to do more projects with, women as a lead, women behind the camera, and of course, great men too, right? Of course, we had some great men. Yes, on For What It's Worth. Shout out to Link Woodall and Lynn Collins, like great men, right? But definitely want those, female-centric stories to just to see more of them.
The Tony Award-winning Woolly Mammoth Theater has been producing courageous and invigorating work for over 40 years in Washington, D.C. And with their 45th season getting underway, we wanted to check in with their artistic director, Manuela Goyanes, and managing director, Kimberly Douglas, about how their unique community connection helps their diverse storytelling.
It was started actually by a group of actors who got together and chose Washington, D.C. specifically to be able to create this new kind of theater that was an alternative to the mainstream.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Douglas. I'm the managing director here at Woolly Mammoth Theatre Company, and my pronouns are she, her, and I handle the business operations and fundraising and administration departments here at Woolly Mammoth.
I'm Manuela Goyanes. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the artistic director of Woolly Mammoth Theatre Company, and I have the pleasure of choosing the season, choosing the plays, bringing artists in, inviting them in.
One of the special places in DC that really captures the voice of the people that have stories that you don't always hear. And I think it's just such a beautiful time in our history, especially as DC is navigating through a pandemic, where Woolly is able to be a champion of those stories and able to just uplift and further the goals of incredible new work and artistry here in DC. It just connects us to our humanity, right? It's so many people in our world today that are looking to share, and we want to be able to spark that dialogue and be a conduit for folks coming in and experiencing, how arts and culture can really influence your life, but also the folks that may not have been exposed to other cultures can come and listen to a story here and take it back to their communities and make sure that they use it as a tool to raise awareness and build hope.
Talk a little bit about our connectivity department. It's about the connectivity between the audiences, the work that we're doing, actually connecting our artistic mission to our social, sort of political, civic mission. Theater doesn't exist without people coming into it and actually seeing it, right? And actually having that relationship, right? And so led right now by our amazing Kristen Jackson, she's the Associate Artistic Director and Director of Connectivity. Essentially, she helps create these deep, resonant, mutually beneficial local partnerships. And the idea is to actually try and use these resources, what it is that Woolly has, our space, right? Our shows, certainly, a gallery, like lots of different kinds of things, to actually create a kind of a third place is one of the things that we've been talking about, right? Your first place is home, your second place is work. Where's your third place? Is it church? Is it a community center? Is it, and maybe this could be a place like that for people, so that it doesn't actually feel like a transactional space where you're just like, here's my ticket, I'm gonna see the show, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but no, you're having a kind of different experience and a different kind of takeaway that feels like you belong to something much larger than yourself.
I just can't wait to see the vibrancy that comes into this space, once that downtown action plan gets activated, because Woolly is essentially going to be the driver as well as all of our other, theater community partners. And, I just feel really energized because yes, 50 years is quickly approaching, right? And so we have a lot of work to do. And I think, we're really going to try to figure out ways that we can continue to make sure like our connectivity department, as well as those new artists that are looking for opportunities, can thrive here in DC and beyond. And we're a conduit to that, because also the work that we're doing, we want to make sure that nationally DC is recognized as a hub for artists and artistry and becoming that next big cultural center and district that people want to come to. So I feel like Woolly has a big hand in that. And yeah, I'm energized by the possibilities.
Yeah, I think of Washington, D.C. already as a theater town. It's one of the few places in all of the country that can actually have this much theater activity and actually support it in a deep way, but also just all the arts and culture and all of the museums and all the galleries. And in terms of the future, you know, in the short term, we're talking to a DC native, Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, about his new show. He is a MacArthur Genius Grant writer. He's done a lot of shows here at Woolly Mammoth. He is, you know, born and bred here and just doing incredible work on TV, film, and has a show actually on Broadway right now, Appropriate, which is awesome. So we'll bring him back to the district. I think that will be really exciting. And just a bunch of other things, like we were thinking about, we haven't had Second City back in a long time. And so we're going to do a new show with them, and doing it with that kind of flair that Woolly Mammoth has, right? Which is to push it a little darker, a little deeper, a little funnier kind of stuff that they can't actually do at their home base in Chicago or when they do their tours and stuff. So I'm really excited about that too. And then in terms of the long term, the bigger future, I agree with Kimberly. There's just so much possibility here in DC, and I came here because I wanted to be at the center of it. You know what I mean? And I feel like Woolly Mammoth actually is trying to infiltrate, whatever words you want to use, you know, so that folks can actually take those risks, to push those boundaries, to actually sort of help that form, help not just the form of theater, but how it is that we relate to each other in society as a creative, participatory society, how we actually can sort of push us to do things that, you know, maybe we have to be a little uncomfortable and have those conversations and talk to each other about. And so to me, in terms of the next 45, 50 years, I keep thinking about like, wow, how far we will go and how does Woolly Mammoth stay at that leading edge? So as the mainstream sort of picks up and starts to do all of these various things and starts to get hip with it, you know what I mean? Like, how is Woolly Mammoth continuing to inspire and push and challenge those boundaries over that time? And man, that's an exciting thing.
For our final segment, we sat down with Connie St John, a phenomenal entertainment professional with over 100 plays written and produced, and worked alongside Oprah Winfrey and many others. She also held numerous roles that focus on giving back to the arts, and we visited her to learn about one of those current roles as president for DC chapter of Women in Film Video. Listen to why she feels this chapter is unique and how filmmaking has an unmatched power of influence on society.
One of the things I learned when I first joined WIFV is that at that time, the majority of the members were documentarians, and I'm not. I'm a narrative writer and a narrative filmmaker, and I love storytelling. I love teaching using stories. To me, it's the greatest impact, is to tell a story and watch the aha moment. There are things, filmmaking in general, it has an impact that nothing else has. The arts in general, not even just filmmaking. You can get a drug dealer to stop selling drugs if you say, I'll give you a record deal, or I'll put you in a film. They'll be like, oh, okay, let's do it. Architecture doesn't do that. Accounting, they're like, no, thank you. I got enough accounting over here. But art, filmmaking, music, there are things like that they will give up a life of crime to be part of a life of art. Nothing else is like that. When you know it has that effect, when you recognize the effect it has on children, you think about music and how Alzheimer's patients who can't remember their family can remember the lyrics to a song. Nothing has the impact that music does. You think about a film scene where people say, I've remembered that from the time I saw it. You know, I learned how to whatever from watching film or television. There are things like that that there's nothing else. They never say, I learned this from, which it doesn't mean these other careers aren't noble. It doesn't mean they're not noble or great and needed. But in terms of, you know, I learned how to live my life. I learned how to, what a friendship or the most romantic thing I've ever seen. It's gonna be from a film or television show. Like, it's never gonna be from, oh, remember when, you know, the baseball player caught the ball and then they turned the kissing camera. Like, that's not what does it. the memories, the way it impacts our memories, the way art does. Nothing else is like that. And so I'm a filmmaker because of that. I'm a filmmaker because the fastest way, the deepest way, the longest lasting way to impact someone's life is through art. And when I was young, I was like shy, wouldn't give eye contact, had things to say but didn't feel like I could say them. And so in watching film, they said what I wanted to say. And then I was dealing with some trauma in my childhood. So there were certain types of movies that I would watch that made me realize that good could conquer evil. So, because as a little girl, I would watch monster movies because I wanted to know how every monster could be defeated. And I didn't realize until way older that the reason that I was so obsessed with monster movies is I needed to know how to kill the monsters in my life. So in that way, movies gave me a voice as well. I was drawn to WIFV because of another fellow filmmaker, Manuela, and I met her right after I moved here and immediately fell in love because I'd been involved with some of the women it's Women in Film and Television in Los Angeles, and I'd gone to a few of their events, and it had that Hollywood feel to it of, who do you know, who are you with, and it wasn't about everybody just kind of pulling their resources to help each other, because by helping each other, everybody gets helped. It wasn't like that. It was, oh, you work at, oh, well then you sit at my table kind of thing. I'm like, well, So as soon as I joined WIFV DC, I noticed the difference in the people, which is why I love the DC area. It's why I knew I always wanted to come back to this area. There's just a difference in the people. It's just true. And it is evident in the organization specifically. So one of the reasons I love DC is because DC has its finger on the pulse of the world, not just of the country, but of the world. And you can come here, and if you say, you know what, I want to help clean up the streets, people are like, oh, let me introduce you to the department of, the agency of, like, that's just what they do. That same mindset is how it is in WIFV. And with no ego, with no competition, with no hesitance that you might get something that belongs to me, none of that. Because everybody recognizes you're doing what you're doing. If I can help you, why not? I'm doing what I'm doing. If you can help me, why not? It's not a competition. And that was immediately apparent yet again, not only in DC, but specifically in WIFV. How can I help move what you're working on forward? And the organization specifically does that. It serves as a fiscal agent for those that don't have a nonprofit, but they might get grants. You can apply to have WIFV be a fiscal sponsor. There are scholarships and things that we offer to filmmakers. So in addition to WIFV's networking events and educational events and kind of advocating for parity in front of and behind the camera, they also have things that actually help filmmakers. Everybody is education and networking stuff they do. It's the spirit behind it. It's the part of the organization that says, we want to help you get it made. Not just, we want you to be part of our organization once you have your finances in place and you got your film done. Then we'd love for you to join this elite club of people who got that done. It's not that. That's a great idea. What can we do to help you get it done? And that's what not only drew me to WIFV, but kept me at WIFV. The entertainment industry is different than everything else. Part of it is because there's that one saying that life imitates art, or art imitates life, and they try to decide which is which. And so at first it was art imitates life. But then somebody else said, I know it's been said that art imitates life, but art is the chisel and hammer that basically changes what is going on in the world. Like, it's not that we're imitating, it's that we're taking a chisel and a hammer to it and creating it. So there are things that weren't acceptable in society, but the film industry changed because they depicted it, and it was through what was presented on the stage and screen big screen and small screen, that changed what was going on in the world. So right now, there is that whole, take diversity out of the classroom. Like, we don't want you to teach any history and all of that. Hollywood doesn't get to do that. They don't get to do that. They won't be able to do that because their livelihood is based on advertiser dollars, and it's based on viewership. And if they decide we're gonna stop representing whatever, people of color, LGBTQ, if they decided to do that, the business would tank. And the good news about them not being able to do it means we can use that then as a tool to help the country get back to where it needs to be. We can use entertainment, we can use television, stage, film. So that's the good news, is they can't do it. What can we do as filmmakers, as an organization? Continue supporting messages and people of color, messages about people of color, strong films, whether they're documentaries or narrative, continuing to support those and helping those get made. That's really important. There are still more good people than bad. Bad are louder, but there are still good people out there, and there are more good people than there are bad people. There are more good organizations than there are bad organizations. So they may be loud and think they have the mic, but they're not gonna win.
Well, that's all for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. We encourage you to let us know about more TV, film, and theater productions within the DMV area. We'll see you for our next episode in September. And remember, your story is waiting to be seen.